Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our event today, which is our Temporary Works Design Careers Fair, where hopefully we'll be giving you an insight into what it's like to work in temporary works and an outline from the people that work in the business day to day of what it's like, what challenges you'll have, and what you'll be working on. So my name's Christian. I work in our marketing department. It's been me who's been sending you all the emails asking you to come along, and basically I'll be kind of sitting in the background and kind of managing the Zoom whilst the rest of the team tell you what's going on. So there will be a few things we'll share after this meeting, including if you are interested in finding out more about the roles we have available, a questionnaire for you to fill out and provide us with your details. But now I'm going to hand over to Angus, who's going to introduce you to the company and what we do.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm glad you can join us today. We've got a few bits to go through. So we'll start off with who we are. Hopefully you've done a little bit of research as to who we are and what we do. We're specialists in temporary works and demolition engineering. That is what we do. Operate out of 4 locations across the country: Chelmsford, East Midlands, Melton Mowbray, West Midlands, Newcastle-under-Lyme, and Edinburgh. So those are the 4 choices if you fancy working with us. So we're going to start off with introductions to everybody here, so you can get an idea of where we are in our career paths, how we got here, and how long we've been with the company, and how we've got on with the company training scheme. And there's a brief section on well, it's not that brief actually, what are temporary works, and what is it like to work in temporary works, what we're looking for from you guys. And then Adam and Joyce, who are the placement student and a junior engineer, are going to tell us about what it's like for them to work at, and then we'll finish off with a breakout room where you can discuss, hopefully, with the senior engineer or manager who runs your local office or the office that you want to go and work in. That is the plan for today. So I'm Angus Holtworth. I'm the managing director of Andun. I've been with the company 11.5 years. I completed my CEng via the company training scheme. Then we've got Josh. Say hello, Josh. You're muted, mate.
After all this time,
Yep.
still falling for the mute. So afternoon, everyone. I'm Josh. I'm a director at Andun. I am a chartered engineer with the ICE. I've been with the business for just over 10 years, and I kind of help with the day-to-day running of the business, focusing on the more higher risk or concept design for the schemes that we look at. I also graduated to as a chartered engineer through our graduate training scheme that is accredited with the ICE. And I am involved in the ICE as the Northwest secretary for the Northwest Committee for the ICE. So I have a bit of involvement there. I'm a mentor for a couple of engineers within the company that are going through the process of becoming incorporated or chartered. And I manage the office that we have in Newcastle-under-Lyme, which is near Stoke-on-Trent. That's a little bit about me, and I'll pass you on to Dave.
You forgot the most important part, Josh, is that you started as a placement student here.
I did, yes. So I'll tell you a little bit about that.
Yep.
So, and I went to Nottingham-Trent University in my first 2 years, and then I went on a placement year with Andun. And then I loved the industry of temporary works and demolition. I wanted to stay on, and therefore completed my degree part-time at the university that was local to me in Essex. And then went on from there. So finished my degree. That was 1 day a week whilst working, which really suited me and meant that I could get some hands-on experience whilst finishing off my degree.
And I think if we go to James next, he's next on the list. So have a little cough first, James, before you. You're still muted, mate. Before you start talking. There we go.
I thought I tactically coughed and then unmuted myself, but yes. So my name is James. I, similarly to Josh, started at Andon on a placement year from Nottingham Trent University. Now I've been with the company around 10 years. And graduated in 2015. So rather than moving to the local uni, I went back, completed my degree, and then moved back to Andon. And since starting at Andon, I've been progressively working on more and more complex schemes as I sort of proved myself as an engineer and as I developed and could cope with more complex schemes. And now I manage the Nottingham office, or the East Midlands office, which is kind of halfway between Melton Mowbray and Nottingham. And my day-to-day role is split between managing projects, other engineers, workloads, reviewing the work of other engineers, and undertaking the more complex schemes that we get involved in. My specialism is sort of the facade retentions and large steelwork frames and that end of the temporary work spectrum. But I've got a good understanding of all temporary works, as it were, as all of the managers do. Yeah, that's me. I'm happy to take questions at the end. I'd pass you over to Dave.
Yeah, I can take over. So yeah, I graduated from Heriot Watt in 2013, and I joined the company in 2017 as a graduate engineer. So I've been with the company about 5 years now. I've relocated back to Edinburgh and now manage the Scottish office, and I've gained chartership with the ICE through the company training scheme. So yeah, I know that it can work, and if you put the effort in, it's definitely possible. So I guess we'll move on to Joyce.
If you want to do a quick intro, because you've got a presentation.
Yes. So I'm Joyce, and I'm a junior temporary works engineer. I came in on my placement year, and I'm kind of following the route that Josh took. So I am doing a degree apprenticeship, which means working part-time and going to uni part-time, which will eventually get me incorporated and chartered later on. So I'll tell you a bit more about what I do a bit later on.
And Adam, please.
Hello, my name is Adam, and I'm a placement student here at Andon Engineering, and I'm currently studying civil engineering at Nottingham Trent University, and I'm on the BEng civil engineering course, and I'll tell you a bit more about my time here at Andon a bit later on in the presentation. Thank you.
So, not going to read it out, but temporary works is best thought of as the thing that comes between the permanent works engineer's design and the finished structure. So during the construction phase, or equally the demolition phase of a project, the temporary work is the bit that comes in the middle there. It allows you to build what you need to build or demolish what you need to demolish. That's the definition that comes out of 5975, which is the code of practice for temporary works. But I'm going to put that into a practical perspective for you now with some pictures. So on the left-hand side in the picture, you've got a working platform, you've got temporary bunds, you've got hoarding design, gate design, and stability of a retained structure. Fairly basic end of the temporary work spectrum. On the next one is a project, a landmark project in Manchester. Josh delivered with Bowman and Kirkland. You've got tower crane base, you've got access scaffolds, stockpiling the materials behind retaining walls, prop into retaining walls, a hoarding again. You've got formwork, false work over here. And then moving on to the right-hand side, you've got rebar cages being lifted in. So the stability of the rebar cages, working out how to lift them safely. There's temporary excavations there. There is temporary stability of the structure when we're doing the excavation works. That in the background there is a bridge being constructed. So you've got the deck being landed and keeping it stable in the temporary condition. You've got lifting operations. There's a 500-ton mobile crane in the background there as well. And then there's hoarding. So it just gives you an idea of what we mean by temporary work. So moving on to the slightly more complex end, this is the other job in Manchester I can never remember the name of.
That's New Wakefield Street, so
New
it's right
Wakefield Street.
near Oxford Road railway station.
So down the back there is a culverted river, well not culverted, a kind of a man-made alignment of a river runs through there. And either side of the site you had neighbouring structures, and we had to build up the site to facilitate the construction of the new building. So that was geotechnical or geogrid reinforced platforms built. There was use of these L walls to provide temporary support to then facilitate the land being built up to get the piling rigs in. Right hand side there, something we did quite a lot of, which is piling platforms with geogrid reinforcement on a large scale there. This was one that gave many hours of pleasure. Was Kidbrook, which was a large scale propping scheme for a large deep piled retaining wall up there. Behind that is a road. I think it's quite a major road. I can never remember which one it is. So that had to be propped and stay in position while the permanent works constructed. And this strange arrangement of propping was to facilitate the follow-on phase, which is building the permanent works, to make sure that none of the props clashed with any of the permanent work, so it could all be built around the propping, and then the propping can be removed. The one on the right hand side is Keybridge House, which again James really enjoyed working on. It was a long big project in London with some very significant propping arrangements and propping loads down within the basement of a structure. On the left hand side you've got tower crane grillage, or a small crane grillage to facilitate a little crane that sat on the roof of a building to allow them to dismantle a tower crane. On the right hand side there you've got lots and lots of temporary works, from in-ground boxes to the mobile crane sitting in the street to the tower crane sitting on top of the core of the structure there. That's a development we worked on down in Bristol. And you can see there's an awful lot of temporary works involved within. That was Halo, I think. Was it one next door to Halo? Anyway, it was quite a lot of temporary work for us on that scheme.
It was Halo.
It was Halo, there you go. Left hand side, you've got taking down a bridge, a footbridge. So you've got the assessment of the structure to dismantle it, how to lift it, and then you've got the crane operating on the road, which requires temporary works. Right hand side, you've got a 750 ton crane, or 6,000 ton mobile crane sitting on top of Putney Bridge in London, so a very well known listed landmark. And we did the engineering to justify that crane operating on that bridge to allow them to take out one of the TBMs as part of some sideway works. And these are all schemes we've delivered over the past few years. Getting into the most complex end of the scheme of the temporary works world, you've got these cranes that were designed to demolish gas holders, including crane rails that were spanning sort of 12 metres to support these cranes operating on the roof of a gas holder. The right hand side, you've got a crane system that was designed inside and built inside Birmingham New Street Station to facilitate taking out an entire level of the floor structure, with significant temporary work from the crane rails themselves to the sequence for doing it and the global stability of the structure. Awful lot of temporary works involved in that scheme. Left hand side, a facade retention scheme in Leeds, so that holds that wall up while you take out everything inside the building effectively, all the way down to basement level. The right hand side, you've got the Churchill Way viaduct, so taking apart to, I think it was 250 metre long viaduct of post-tension construction within the centre of Liverpool. And there's the temporary work for the platform for the SPMTs. There's all the steel work on top of the SPMTs. There's proving the structure will work in the temporary condition. There's propping to back spans. There's all sorts of things going on there. Again, a very complex project delivered at very tight timescales. What's the word I'm looking for? The most impressive things we do, I suppose, we get the best videos out of them, is where we do these big demolition schemes where you might be pulling down a chimney or deliberately collapsing or a truss, as you can see there, or working on the explosive demolition of part of Scunthorpe Steelworks. These are the ones where you get the really good videos that are the more exciting ones, that are perhaps sometimes not quite as technical as the other ones we've looked at, but interesting in their own way. And then this one, which we love showing, is a different video to the one I've seen before. It is part of Hotspur's old stadium, and it was pulling down a big truss there, 230-metre long steel truss. Doing the engineering to allow this to be undertaken. And there it goes. Quite exciting stuff. Getting something like that back on the ground in a safe, controlled manner. And there it is to put it into context how big that truss was that was pulled down. These are normal sized people, as I understand it. So how big that truss is. So what is it like to work in temporary works? Very, very fast paced quite a lot of the time. There's a huge amount of variety in what we do. Just taking this week, I've worked on geotechnical things, I've worked on structural steel work, I've been out on site, I've been working in the office. Such a constant variety. You never get bored in temporary works, or I haven't got bored yet anyway. We get to go to some very, very interesting places on site visits, all over the place, into buildings you wouldn't otherwise get access. And we get involved in interesting projects, from the very small scale to the very, very large scale. And you meet some interesting people, particularly on the demolition side of things. There are some interesting characters out there to work with. So you don't get bored, is the main thing I want to say. What we're looking for from our placement students or graduate students, well, we're looking for problem solvers. That is the most important thing that you need to be able to do, is solve problems, look at information and solve problems. You need to be able to communicate, and whether that's through writing, through drawings, through speaking, it is a massive part of engineering. It's the key part. Whatever you have in your head, you've got to communicate to the people who need it, which is the guys on site. You need to have that basic engineering already nailed, or if you don't, you've got to have the ability to learn it and learn it quickly. The ability to read and understand written information is another very, very important part of our job, from reading codes, so codes of practice, to reading guidance, to reading the brief and the information you're sent by your client. It's all very, very important. And the ability to listen, both when you're dealing with clients and when you're being taught something, is quite a skill to be able to listen and take in and understand. But I think the most important thing that you need is a desire to learn and improve yourself, and develop yourself to your full potential, which is what we will assist you with. But you've got to have that drive within you to really succeed as a starting point. What will we offer you in return? Well, a wide variety of interesting work, an environment in which you'll be learning, and we are placing a lot of effort to develop our engineers to their full potential. We can offer you the minimum amount of admin tasks possible through the software platform we've developed. You get to focus your time on the engineering, not on admin, because nobody likes admin. We have an IC accredited training scheme, and you'll have a career with no limits. If you come in and you keep learning and you keep progressing, there's no reason why you can't get to the top of this organisation. Hopefully you've seen that Josh joined us as a placement student and is now a director. James and Dave are on track to become directors. The world is your oyster if you put the effort in, where there'll be nothing to stop you. So I'm going to hand you over to Joyce now for the first presentation.
Okay, so hi guys, I'm Joyce. Like I said before, I'm a junior temporary works engineer. I'm going to tell you what that means and what I do. So, sorry, I forgot you were clicking, Angus. Yeah, I'm going to start with how I got here. So here is a timeline of my education. So I did a mixture of BTECs and A-levels at sixth form, and then went on to study civil engineering at Nottingham Trent University, 2019, completed first year and second year during COVID. And then I applied for a position at Andon as a placement student. I completed that in 2021, and now I'm in a different course doing civil engineering degree apprenticeship at NTU with Andon as my sponsor. Next slide, please. I'm going to start with, let's rewind a bit, a year and a half ago, what I knew. As most of us know, first year is kind of the basics. They just teach you the basics to get everyone on the same level, since everyone comes from different backgrounds and stuff. So bending moment and shear force diagrams, that's what we did. We learned about types of soils, soil behaviors. It was very basic. It wasn't until second year that we actually got into designing beams and columns to Eurocode. We did some AutoCAD and Revit and all that stuff. If we now go to today, oh no, what we didn't do is temporary work. Sorry, if you go back a sec, we didn't do any temporary works. Did like one lecture in second year about temporary works. So like at the end of the year, wasn't really anything to, to learn really. So I didn't know any temporary works. But now, as you can see, the brain is a lot bigger. I do know a lot more. I am now able to do designs to not only British standards, but also Eurocode. I can produce 2D and 3D drawings. I'm able to speak a bit more like an engineer by writing engineering statements and reports. I use different softwares to do the designs. I'm able to get a job and now know what I need to look for, how to design it, and all that good stuff. So next, please. I wanted to, I've been here over a year and a half, and I have done over 140 designs, which is quite interesting. I learned that the other day. So I'm going to take you guys through a little timeline on how it is to design at Andon, what our routine is. This is a routine that we all do, whether you're junior or engineer level. So this is a little story time. This is you. A new engineer, you've just come in, you've got given your brief, you've got your information, you've read through it. If you're anything like me, you probably didn't even know what you're doing. And then next, what you would do is you go on to our intranet, which is basically a place where there is guidance on anything that involves us and what we do. So if I was designing a hoarding, I'd click on the link for hoarding and I'd get a PDF of a step-by-step, which was made by one of our managers, a step-by-step on what you're doing. So where to find your loads, what resources to use and all that stuff. Then I would complete my initial report. This is basically me telling my manager that I've read my brief, I know what I'm doing. This is a step-by-step on how I'm going to design this hoarding, let's say. Is this okay, basically? And what they like to do is, at this stage, is poke your brain a bit to see if you actually know what you're going to do. So they'll ask you questions. Say you put, I'm going to calculate the wind load. They're going to ask you and say, well, where are you going to get that from? How are you going to do it? What equation are you going to use? Just to make sure that you are going away knowing exactly what you're doing. And then this is you working away, getting your design done. Once that's done, you then send it to review, and you and your manager will have a bit of a back and forth about what could have been done better, what you've maybe not understood fully, what you haven't considered, just to make sure the full package, the final package is perfect, and then we have a happy client. So okay, so that's a little bit to show you guys what your day-to-day would look like, and to show that you're not ever going to be left to get on with work and come back when you've got something. There's always that back and forth between you and your manager. Okay, so back to me. In my favorite jobs that I've done, as I said, I've completed over 140, so there's a lot more, but I've only got 2 to talk about. This one is close to home. It's in Nottingham. If you're in Nottingham, you probably know the building, it's in town. So what they're doing is a renovation. They wanted to remove some walls and add some beams to the structure. So what we had to do is go on a site visit to figure out what they wanted, where they wanted it and how they wanted it, take measurements and come back to do the design. So what I had to do is a needling scheme, which basically means that they are producing an opening on a wall, and you have to transfer the loads that that wall was previously taking. So you have to carry that and take that back to the lower structure, so where it was before. So that's what you're seeing there. So I had to identify the loadings that would be on my props, and then produce my calculations and do this lovely drawing that you're seeing right now. So the next job is Watling Street. I love a demolition job. So this was one of my first big ones. As you can see, I went on Google the other day to see, to get you a plan of it, and they're actually doing it right now, which got me very excited. So what they're doing is demolishing the whole structure, but they're doing it in stages. So stage one is removing the front of the structure. As you can see from the image, they've already started doing that. And then stage two, they will remove the rest. The reason why they're doing it in stages is because the building is next to a railway, and you need to make sure that the overhead lines are protected. So they were like, okay, well, we'll wait, while we're waiting for that to happen, let's do the front of the building and then do the rest after. So what I had to do is produce the demolition sequence for both stages and conduct a stability check on the partially demolished structure. And there was also a scaffold check to do as well. So to summarize, this is why you should consider Andon, why you should join Andon. I am proof that Andon is willing to take you in with however much or however little you know. They are willing to put the time and effort to make sure that you develop. That's one of our core values, is people development. So yeah. And the next one is your brain. As you saw, my brain physically expanded, so yours. We do a lot of different range of jobs. It's not just focused on one thing. It's not boring. It's literally, as Angus said, it's a lot of different types of jobs on a weekly basis. And also your CPD, that list will expand on a weekly basis, because we do a lot of challenges and activities that get that list going to make sure that you are developing as an engineer. So yeah, that is it. Thank you.
Thank you, Joyce. And now it's over to Adam.
Thanks for that, Joyce. So hi everyone, my name's Adam and I'm currently a placement student here at Andon. And as I said before, I'm studying at Nottingham Trent University. I'm on the BN Civil Engineering course with a sandwich year, and I'm going to briefly tell you about my time with Andon so far. So without further ado, let's get into it. So why did I choose this placement, or even to do a placement in the first place? Well, in my second year, I was curious to understand the practical application of what I was learning, and basically came to the conclusion that a placement year would be valuable for me to gain some hands-on experience in the industry, and to also maintain that real-world perspective during my time at university. So why Andon in particular? So I first heard about the company through a very informative online webinar led by the managing director, Angus, which I think initially opened my eyes to the world of temporary works. And I was intrigued by the wide variety of engineering subjects that were covered in temporary works. And it made me aware of the important role in the construction industry that it plays. And right at the end of the webinar, Angus said about the placements, that he had some available placements. So I contacted the company and got an interview and got accepted. So yeah, so some subject areas that I've had involvement in. So since arriving at Andon in July, I've tackled many different types of projects, including some that I've listed on the page. So you've got crane positions, working platforms, slope stability analysis, checks on slabs, beams and columns from different loading, propping designs, reinforcement detailing, foundation designs, weight takeoff calculations, and also some further development on the softwares that you can see at the bottom of the screen. For example, MathCAD, which I think significantly speeds up the calculation process. BricsCAD, which is similar to AutoCAD, which is what I was using at university last year. And also Limit State Geo, which has been a great help this year. which is a geotechnical analysis software. The majority of these subject areas are covered briefly at university, and as mentioned before, I'm now applying this knowledge into practical situations. So next slide, please, Angus. So although we are office-based, I've had plenty of opportunities to get out onto site and see some pretty unique things. So in the top left corner, labeled number 1, is where me and director Josh, we had to inspect the condition of a gas holder before the works could commence on site, which involved us climbing onto the roof of the gas holder, which is something I can safely say I've never done before. And in the middle photo, number 2, you can see we were involved in some work on Wrexham Football Club, the stadium redevelopment. And along the bottom is a derelict theatre that requires some partial demolition, and we are involved with the temporary works that is taking place on site. And on the right is a site visit at St Michael's Police Station, Deansgate, Manchester, where we went to inspect the reinforcement in a tower crane base before the concrete could be poured. So a range of different site visits, all containing their own unique constraints and engineering solutions. And these visits have enabled me to get a better insight into life on site and speaking to clients, and also confirming to me why we apply the factor of safeties in our calculations in the office. And there's also the opportunity to do some networking at client-run events outside of work hours. So you can see in the top right photo, a few of us from the company went up to Manchester one night to attend an event run by a client we work with quite closely. So it was a great experience to speak to the people we work with in an informal setting, really, and form some better relationships and contacts, which is essential for a good design. So next slide, please, Angus. So I'm going to talk about a project that I've been heavily involved in, Marion Place, Bethnal Green in London. As you can see, there are quite a lot of tasks that have been going on with this project. And I've enjoyed this heavy involvement in a single project as it has allowed me to get a better understanding of the general operations and site conditions, making me better equipped to tackle any new tasks or potential constraints on site, which there has been many, to say the least. Constant client communication has been pivotal for this project, really, and I've become increasingly confident talking to clients and contractors who've been in the industry for many years, and I feel I've been given responsibility to manage this task. So some of the tasks include a ramp into the gas holder bases, which required a slope stability assessment, some edge protection for the gas holders, some scaffold based foundations, reinforcement detailing of a concrete capping beam, and also a working platform design to allow for the installation of a sheet pile wall adjacent to a canal. So this project has been very challenging but enjoyable for me, as it has required a deep understanding of the geotechnical parameters on site to help with all the designs that I've completed. Next slide, please, Angus. So learning points, just over halfway through my placement here at Andon, and I'm loving it. I'm learning a lot. I feel I've gained a clear insight into what the industry is about, and it has only had positive effects on my academic development, and then also a tidy paycheck to top it off. Being surrounded by other engineers in and around the office, and being in close contact with other engineers in offices around the country through internal weekly meetings has been key to my learning and growth, making it much easier for me to speak out and ask questions when I need to. Adjusting to the work life from the student life was a big jump for me, but it's been extremely valuable, and I've noticed improvements within myself at things like timekeeping, communication, and my understanding of engineering. In conclusion, I'd absolutely recommend Andon for your placement or employment. They've invested a lot of time and effort into my growth and development as an engineer, which I know will complement me in my final year. You'll get many opportunities to get stuck into exciting and unique projects and work alongside a great team of engineers in the process. So thank you for listening, and yeah, cheers.
Thanks very much for that, Adam. So that brings us to the end of the presentation, where I think we're going to try and break out into separate groups. Chris, are you there?
I am, yes. So
put that link into the chat.
I'm way ahead of you.
Good. I thought you would have been. I just wanted to make sure. So there is the questionnaire that we'd all like you, if you're interested in a job with us, to click on and fill in and get us going. And then Chris is now going to break us up into groups, I hope.
Yes. So if you'd like to join us in the breakout rooms, if you could just put in basically the 4 offices, you just put in the chat which office you would like to be in. So Angus, if you could just reel off the offices for me, put in the chat.
Chelmsford, East Midlands, West Midlands, and Edinburgh.
So if you just put the one that has the most interest to you, I will put you in a breakout room with that person. So all right, so Dave, I can see Max has already said like to be in that room. So I've opened that room. So Dave, you should now get an invite to go and join a room with Max. East Midlands, that's James. And we've got Zoe, who are all assigned to go see James. So feel free to go and join that room. Anyone else would like to put their location? I'll put you into a breakout room with one of the team. Don't be shy. West Midlands, so that's Josh.
Marie wants Essex or Edinburgh just flashed up.
Then we've got Angus. I'm going to put you in the Essex one.
Yeah.
And I'm going to put Kamal and Shiragan. Sorry if I've said that badly. And Maria said Essex or Edinburgh, so I'm going to put you in there. Which room did I put Dave in? Room 1. That's the Edinburgh room. And Harish is Edinburgh as well. Excellent. That's everyone. How do you think that? I'm just going to turn the record off. 1 sec.